Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS. Just finished recording the early slate, so I'm going to take that one down and I'm going to put up the evening slate, the main slate for us. So if you want the early slate information, then you can go to our YouTube channel. Just stop this video and the slate starts at 3:07 or 3:10. So it's a nice 5 gamer. So get the information there and then come on back to this video and I will help you with your builds for the main. So main slate's not bad for a Wednesday. And it's been a couple of weeks where we haven't had any night baseball on a Wednesday. It's all been pretty much the day slate and then maybe just a couple games at night and everything over. Not a super late slate tonight. I think the latest start is 8:10. So, I mean, should be able to watch all the games and get to bed at a decent hour also, especially with the pace Major League Baseball has been playing this year. So we start out with the Yankees and the Blue Jays, Garrett Cole and Chris Bassett. Cole's been struggling recently. I think he'll be very popular on this slate, but I have him ranked as my third favorite pitcher in the high range. And Bassett, after having a couple of disastrous starts early, really hasn't given up much runs or anything recently. So the Yankees continue to be banged up. Torres is slated in the lineup, but I think he's a little bit banged up. Judge is fine. Rizzo, DeLemayhew, some of these other guys they brought in, like they've dropped Volpe down a little bit in the lineup. They still don't have Donaldson in there, still don't have Stanton in the lineup. So, and they're striking out. So definitely Garrett Cole's in play here against the Blue Jays. Vlad is probably out. He went to go field a bunt. I think it was from Torres, and he felt something. He's going to have an MRI, so he'll probably be out for a couple days. So that's another big bat out of the lineup. It's like Springer hasn't been as potent this year, so Varshayo's come as a lefty, but he hasn't been like super dominant. So you pretty much have Burchett, Chapman, Merrifield can steal some bases, but then like Belt, Kirk, Biggio, and Kiermaier do not scare me at all, but they are cheap bats. And so Cole's in play here, but also I think the Blue Jays are definitely in play as a stack here, as a leverage stack, because I think Cole has some ownership. And if they can get to him and hit him, I think it's maybe the pitch clock that's affecting him a little bit. I think he's still like trying to adjust to that here. So Cole's in play, definitely, but not one of my favorite plays. Bassett is in play also. I have him as a fade. Earlier when I first did this, but definitely after I dug in a little bit deeper and thought about it, I think he's definitely in play in the mid-range here. And then bat-wise, I think, Yankees make a GPP stack against Bassett if people are going to look at his price and play him as an SP2. And then Toronto's top leverage stack on the slate here. Seattle and Boston. In Boston, wind blowing across the field 13 miles per hour. If it tilts a little bit and is blown out to right field, then that definitely will help the left-handed batters, but they're up against a lefty, but a really bad lefty in Gonzalez. So Marco Gonzalez is a fade for me. M. Gonzo off the board. And Bello, I think he's in play in the cheap one here. He's done well his last couple starts also. The Mariners have a good offense, but they tend to struggle at times. So if you can get around some of the lefties here, then especially like just Clinic, I think he's fine. I think Seattle's much better against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching, even though they have a 4 or 5-8 total. And again, keep in mind and watch the wind. It's only 51 degrees, but if it should turn and be blowing out, then that's going to kind of cheapen Bello. But I think he definitely at 5.7 is in play here as a cheap pitcher for your SP2 tonight, especially if you're trying to get up for Strider or Evaldi or Cole, who are all really, really expensive. Seattle bats, I think, a favorite GPP play against Bello. Again, I probably focused on lefties, so Crawford, Rodriguez, Clinic, Raleigh as a switch hitting catcher. Probably wouldn't like put Trammell or Wong, but if you want to do a wraparound stack and a GPP, if you're trying to be cheap here, then definitely okay with that. Red Sox, I don't know if I really like them here too much. I have them as one of the top stacks just because Gonzalez has been horrible, but they really don't have a ton of righties. Turner has been okay, but not as dominant as in the past. Reed Snyder hits well here. Devers can do both. Kiki Hernandez, like I used to be like a left-handed specialist, but don't like him as much. Like Wong and Reyes, like at the bottom of this lineup, like Reyes has been called up for shortstop and has hit pretty well. I think he's hitting like 500 something. So in the few games that he's played, he's started off pretty hot. So I'm okay with him. And like Wong is a really cheap catcher at 2.7. So, maybe I do kind of a wraparound, do like a Wong, Reyes, Turner, Reef Snyder stack, and then throw Devers in there because again he could hit like everything, so that you're doing like an 8-9. Again, this is a projective lineup, not the full one. So 8-9-2-3-4. Have no problem with that whatsoever. Tampa Bay and the Mets, Josh Fleming and Kodai Senga. Fleming not interested in. He's like just one of these fill-in guys, but I have him as a fade, but maybe you could consider him if you're playing large field GPPs, just because the Mets have struggled a little bit recently, and it's a hitter's ballpark and the wind's blowing in at like 17 miles per hour, so that should help. But so definitely keep him in consideration. Maybe I'll just move him off the fade list over here just because I really like the fact it's a hitting park. The Mets have not been hitting as well recently. I read the New York Post and the Daily News every so often. I work at a store, so I walk by and just pick them up and glance at them, and it just seems like they're starting to compare this team to the '92 Mets, where they paid like all that money for all those players, and it just did absolutely nothing. So I hope that's not the case, and maybe they come back alive here. But Tampa Bay's got a good bullpen also. So, and like I said, with the wind blowing in at Hitters Park, Fleming might be a very sneaky option now that I see that's changed a little bit since when I initially looked at it. Senga on the other side, I'm not interested at all. I have him in the high side, but he might be closer to the fade. He just really had a lot of hype coming here at this ghost pitch and everything, and it's just not working. He's walking batters, giving up runs. So I think Tampa Bay is my favorite stack. I don't think, they're probably not going to homer him to death, but it's going to be a thing where they put together a lot of hits and a lot of runs and a lot of innings. And I think, that they could have a good night. So that's going to be my favorite stack there. And the Mets, just a GPP for me. Brewers and Cardinals, we have Corbin Burnes and Matthew Liberatore getting called up for his first start of the year. Burnes, I think, is solidly in play. He's just not the same as he's been in the last couple of years, but he just seems to be really underpriced and performing well. The Cardinals, I know they put up like 18 runs a couple days ago, and they have an offense that could go off at any time. And it looks like they're starting to heat up a little bit, but the wind's blowing in straight in from center field, 6 miles per hour. 79 degrees is decent hitting weather out in St. Louis. Let's see what they did yesterday. They only scored 2 runs against the Brewers. So again, I think Burnes is solidly in play. My favorite play in the mid-range here. And I think if you want to fade one of the high-priced guys and start your lineup there and get like a high-price stack in, I'm definitely down for that too. Liberatore on the other side too, I really like here. Milwaukee has been abysmal. 31% strikeout rate, I believe it is, against left-handed pitching. And Liberatore is not a bad pitcher. He's a pretty decent young prospect. So I think that, they'll probably load up with like a bunch of righties here. So, but Liberatore, I think, is firmly in play. So bat wise, I think Milwaukee, if you think Liberatore is going to get some ownership and they're going to be able to overcome the lefty here and be able to put something together, then I think, they are a great GPP stack of the righties potentially. St. Louis on the other side against Burnes. They'll probably move some of the lefties up into the top of the lineup. So I think you can go Nootbaar definitely leading off here. Goldsmith, right and righty's fine. Gorman, Arenado starting to heat up. I'd strip Contreras and then maybe go with Donovan or Edmonds for like a wraparound stack if you want to go 5. But again, I think they're more of a GPP against Burnes. And Milwaukee's always had a decent bullpen too. Atlanta and the Texas Rangers, Spencer Strider and Nate Eovaldi. 2 great pitchers here against 2 decent offenses. So it's like one of those something's got to give here things. But I think Strider is definitely worth paying up for. He's been pretty much matchup proof this season. So I think he's fine. And Evaldi on the other side too has been very solid. Also, the Braves again have a potent offense like St. Louis that could go off at any time, but I think that if Evaldi is on his game, that he'll be perfectly fine. So, and there's a nice savings on down from Heaney and Cole, and at 10K, I think he's definitely in play here. Bat wise, Atlanta, could be one of the top stacks, but I think I'm going to actually, when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, maybe they profile well, but I want to move them over to a leverage stack here because I think Evaldi more and more I've read and studied this morning before I made the video. I see a lot of people on him, so I think that Atlanta stacks will be low owned is something that could be a real good leverage play here. Same thing with Texas against Striders. Obviously, if he's going to have a lot of ownership, then the Texas bats. It looks like Corey Seager is going to be back in the lineup potentially. Lau, Heim is a switch hitter. Grossman, we'll see where he ends up in the lineup with Seager back. So, there's definitely some. Don't know if I go full 5, but probably can get 4 solid left-handed bats in there against Strider. So in a GPP only as a leverage play. Guardians and the White Sox. Neither one of these teams offensively are really good at this point in time, especially because Ramirez's grandmother from Cleveland passed away, so he's back in his home country attending to that. So there's one big bat out of the lineup for them. And the White Sox have been plagued with injury and not hitting really well. Also, it's in Chicago. It's 54 degrees, which is rather cool. And wind is blowing across the field at 10 miles per hour. So I think both these pitchers are in play just because either one of them could probably get you 12 to 14 DK points at a 6K price tag is perfectly fine, because I don't think either offense is really going to put up. This could probably be like a 2-1 game. Both pitchers go out there, not going to have a ton of Ks, but they're just going to eat up innings, get done what they do. FanDuel, I think either one of them could get a quality start for you. Either one of them could get the win for you. So I think, they're solidly in play in the cheap one. I also like Bello and Fleming here, but these guys save you a little bit more money if you're trying to play Strider, and I'm fine with them as SP2. Bat wise, I'm not interested, even though both teams are cheap. I don't think I'm going to have any ownership of them whatsoever. Chicago and Houston here, Drew Smyly and JP France. Smyly, not interested at all. Going to put him on my fade list. And JP France is very interesting at 79. He has been very, very good in his first couple of starts. And Chicago really hasn't been hitting well. They're on the road here too. So I think, you can consider France in your contest at 7-9 as your SP2. If you want to save a little bit on Burns, if you don't trust Libator being like the call up here, even though Milwaukee has struggled against left-handed pitching. And if you don't trust Bassett against the Yankees, then I think France is your person in the 7.9K range if you don't want to dip down to some of the guys in the cheaper section here. So bat-wise, the Cubs, again, are just a cheap or leverage stack if you think France is going to have, but I probably have zero ownership of them. And then Houston is probably my second favorite stack here against Smyly. And I don't know, I've got a feeling on Abreu. He's just been really bad, but I think this is the day that he breaks out. Not saying he hit a home run, but at 2.5, I think he at least makes value. And I think playing him at first base opens up a lot of stuff because you don't have like Vlad tonight. And, I'm not playing anybody in the Cleveland one. Goldschmidt, I don't like him against a righty. I'm just trying to think like a first baseman here, like Olsen, but against Eovaldi is a bad matchup. Lowe, again, against Strider, not really going there. Diaz has been banged up, so Tampa Bay I don't even think, like Luke Raleigh maybe at first base there. Alonso against Fleming, he may be there, but I don't know if I'm going to play 4-5 or 5-4. So, I think this just might be the day where I kind of dropped down a little bit on first base just to get some other bats in my lineup. Like I said, Turner's like an option also against Gonzalez. I think that's another good one too. But I'm still saving $1,000 if I drop down here to Abreu. So maybe I'm crazy, but maybe I'm onto something. So we'll see. So that's all the games. Let's look at the lineup builds. So I'm taking Strider here, and then I am taking Tampa Bay, and I'm going to try to fit in Houston also. So Maldonado is really cheap. It's catcher for Houston, like I said, Abreu, and that opens things up here. And I might throw Bowers in there at a minimum price to make this work, to try to get Alvarez or Tucker in as my final outfield spot. For FanDuel, same thing. Strider, give me Abreu there, super cheap. Low, Bregman, Franco, and the other Lau not from Texas. These are the ones from Tampa Bay. And then again, try to get in a Rosarena or some of the higher end Houston bats. If you can, if you want to drop down to Evaldi or Cole or Burns here in your cash, if you think Strider's too expensive or you think Texas is not a great matchup here, perfectly fine. It helps you get even better bats from Tampa Bay and Houston. And then for GPPs, like I said, there's a lot of ways to go. Like Boston is fine. I'm going to target Seattle here. And I'm going to go with the Blue Jays just because I have a feeling that they're going to get to Cole tonight. So Burns, Riley, switch hitter, Merrifield can steal bases, Crawford, Rodriguez, Varsho, because I like the lefty matchup there. And then just you have to figure out if you want Clinic or, if you want Springer, who you want for your other outfield spot. On FanDuel, give me Burns, again, first base, just to figure out you want to take Raleigh as a catcher there, or France, or take one of the cheap Blue Jays. But give me Merrifield, give me Chapman, give me Crawford, Clinic, and Varsho. The other outfield spot, again, figure out if you want Springer, if you want J-Rod, and then utility spot, you can take like whatever position that you double up on that you want to take from both teams. So that's what I got for you. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the chat below, or hit me up at MegaRower31 on Twitter. And if you want more information on FSi DFS, it's in the description of the video, so you can get into our Discord, sign up for our package, and not only get all these cores, but get all the updates, get one-on-one coaching help with me and McKinley in the Discord chat room. And also we give you every single core for showdowns and for tiers and some other stuff too. So thanks for watching. Thanks for always watching these videos. Hopefully you watched the day one and that helped you out. Hopefully this one helps you out too. If we are helping you out making these videos for you, then please help us back. All you have to do is just like the video. It just helps spread it out onto YouTube to more users as a recommendation. Subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out. You know that there were 2 videos today and not just one, so you didn't miss out on anything. And continue to share with your friends. Appreciate how much we continue to grow day by day, 1 or 2 subscribers here or there. It all adds up on our quest to get to 5,000 by the end of the season. So appreciate so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great Wednesday. I hope you do well on both slates, and I'll see you next time.